I am so grateful for our friends at Blue Microphones. Not only have they completely changed what our show sounds like, they've given me headphones so I can monitor things better. This is the mic for millions of creative people, and now I know why. I'm so grateful for them completely changing the quality of our audio. You'll find Blue mics like Yeti and the Mouse, which we're using here, both in pro studios and home studios, literally all over the world. Their popular Yeti caster is a Blue Yeti microphone plus a boom arm system that's behind many of your favorite podcasts. I run into them all the time, and now I know why. If you've ever thought about creating your own podcast or YouTube channel, Blue can make you sound and look great. Just visit bluemic.com and click Get Started, and you can start telling your story. Anyone who's watched me over the years knows that I'm obsessed with Hydralyte. In my opinion, the best oral rehydration product on the market. I literally use it every day. My family uses it. When I had COVID, I'm telling you, Hydralyte contributed to my recovery, kept me hydrated. Now, with things finally reopening back around the country, the potential exposure to the common cold is always around. And like always, Hydralyte has got your back. Hydralyte Plus Immunity, my new favorite, starts with their fast-absorbing electrolytes and adds a host of great ingredients. Plus, each single serving easy pour drink mix contains 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C, 300 milligrams of elderberry extract. Hydralyte Plus Immunity comes in convenient, easy to pour sticks that rapidly dissolve in water, make a great tasting drink, has 75% less sugar than your typical sports drink. It uses all natural flavors, gluten-free, dairy-free, caffeine-free, non-GMO, and even vegan. Hydralyte Plus Immunity is also now available in ready-to-drink bottles at the Walmart next to the pharmacy, or as always, you can find it by visiting hydralyte.com/Dr. Drew. Again, that is hydralyte.com/DRDREW. Be sure to use the code Dr. Drew 25 for a special discount.
Hey everyone, it's a dose of Dr. Drew.
Hey everyone, welcome, welcome. Yeah, we are a little bit early today because we thought there was a bit of concern on locals that we were okay. So I just made sure we got in here to tell you our story. Once everyone's all piled in, we'll let you know what happened. It was kind of an interesting evening last night, and we're all good. That's the important thing. So anybody have any other questions before I launch into my story and what happened to us at the steakhouse Peter Lugar's? In case you haven't seen it, I put it up as a story on Instagram at IGTV, and I think it's also over on TikTok. Tom Cigar is telling us to go to Florida because it's the safest place ever. Well, we're in New York right now. We're not in Florida, so that's the way it goes. Hi, James. Hey, Pogpo Posey, you saw it. You saw the article. And then Mark keeps pointing out that death rate is going down in 30 to 50-year-olds, which is not surprising, right? I mean, it's probably the case that most of the people that are more predisposed to getting more likely to get COVID and more likely to get serious COVID, the virus kind of moves through that population first. That makes some sense. Yeah, Daphne, the whole issue of defunding the police, that's interesting because one of the great things that happened last night was the cops showed up within about 2 minutes. And it would have been potentially a far different situation had they not arrived as quickly as they did. And I couldn't help but think about what it would have been like in Los Angeles, where it takes 15 minutes on hold to get a 911 call through. And just what would have happened had this been in Los Angeles would have been a lot different thing. Brooklyn PD showed up within 2 minutes, had the guy that was shot with the through-and-through chest wounds in a paramedic ambulance and is on his way within about 4 minutes. And it was interesting. Biraj is asking about his girlfriend's hands. Yeah, the cut and the tightness, that is inflammation. So you have what's called an eczema or a contact dermatitis on the palms. And one of the first things to go, it's not dryness. Stop thinking of it as dryness. It's inflammation. And you have to use some sort of steroid ointment in order to penetrate the palm. It needs to be an ointment. And you should see a dermatologist about it. If you notice, it's often in these fingers from grabbing. And you ought to look at things that are metal that she may be grabbing onto, like keys, that sort of thing. That's sort of the typical culprit, with a nickel being actually the most common culprit. All right, Steve, so what happened? I will tell you, we were having dinner at a place called Peter Lugar's, which is a steakhouse. And we've been wanting to go there for years and years and years. And finally, my daughter made an appointment there. She got one at like 9 o'clock at night, just before the kitchen closed. And we were there and sort of piling in and just, trying to get our order in before everything closed in the restaurant. But the restaurant was full. It's sort of an old style steakhouse. It's not a white tablecloth restaurant. It's more like picnic tables or picnic cloths. But the waiters are all, they're quite professional, and it's one of the most famous steakhouses in New York. And so we finally got in there, and we just finished our salad, and all of a sudden we heard a huge commotion. The thing is set up in like there's an entry hall with a bar in it, and then two big dining rooms on either side. We were in the dining room over on the left, and one of the ironies of the whole evening was Susan said she wanted to eat. Should we eat outside? I said, no, I want to go inside and get the full Peter Luger experience. Well, outside, right at the table where we would have been, we believe where the person was actually shot, is where we would have been sitting, which is awesome. So we were in that room and heard a commotion in that sort of center area by the bar. I looked up and saw the cashier, there's sort of a cashier's booth, diving. I heard someone yell 911, and then I heard he's down, and then I watched someone dive behind the counter, and I thought, oh, there's a medical problem. I better go see what's going on. So I got up and sort of moved that direction, and just as I did that, a wave of staff came at the entire room and screamed, everyone down, into the corner, move over here. The staff, and then at that point you started hearing people say, the shooter's over here, there's a shooter. And at that point we did not know if this was a mass shooting event where somebody was going to come into the room with an automatic weapon. We didn't know if it was a drive-by shooting. We didn't know it was a fight. We didn't know anything. We couldn't even tell where it was coming from, really. We kind of had a sense it was over there, so everyone piled into this corner. And it was literally 45 people on top of each other. And it was weird. But the cops showed up immediately. It seemed like things were under control. The waiters were unbelievable. They stood tall. They kept everybody calm. They made sure everybody was accounted for. I think the reason I stayed calm was because of them. That's about the best explanation I have, because I was sort of uncannily okay during the whole thing. And as I was crouched down under a windowsill helping another lady make sure she was okay, I thought, this could come in through the window. There could be some gunfire through the window. It could be a problem. So I started turning up, and I started wondering what we would do if somebody came in the room with the gun. There was an exit over there, and I started thinking about moving tables, and piling them up around everybody. So I dumped a table over just as the waiters came in and said, oh, everything's fine now, you can get up. So I succeeded in making a huge mess of that table. But I was trying to put it up in the window because I thought that window is pretty vulnerable, and there was a lot of people. If somebody came up to the window and started firing, there was 45 people sitting there in a pile. So there we were. And then we had steak right after that. And it was really good. I recommend everybody go to Peter Luger. The waiters were interesting, and one of the guys was Syrian, and he said that even in Syria had never seen anything like this. He also, a couple of the other guys reported that I was going around thanking them all because they had done such an amazing job, and they were saying that there used to be a terrible neighborhood where Peter Luger's is. It's a steakhouse. It's not a nice restaurant. It's just sort of a family style thing. And he said, we used to be afraid to go into the car and get to our cars in the parking lot, but nothing like this had ever happened in his 20 years working there. And several of the waiters said the same thing. Bruin, how can you say that Fed Smoker never died? We've actually seen him dead. So in any event, if you have any questions about, tell the story on ACS, that's an interesting idea, Matt. That's an interesting idea. Adam was calling me just now as we got into this thread, into this stream. So maybe he heard something and he wants to talk about it. Let's see. Wait, did you stayed and had a meal there? Yes, I did, Gavinator. In fact, pretty much everybody, once it was over, because it was so fast, and the cops had things sort of completely structured very quickly. That pretty much everybody went back to their table. Everybody went back to their tables. There was, it's the best steak going, and we've been waiting for the steak. We've been trying to get Peter Luger reservations for years, or trying to figure out how to get over there. And it was a great steak, and we ate our steak. My daughter and her boyfriend were not hungry, so I could understand that. Susan, you were hungry. No, you were not hungry too. I was very hungry, and it was sort of the whole that part of the experience was sort of uncanny to me. Um, yeah, perfect temperature, Steve. Yep, it was actually perfect. Yeah, went through all that. Everything is okay. I mean, it could have turned out differently, right? I mean, it could have been, and they gave us free dessert. They were very kind and accommodating. And it could have been very different, right? We did not. Again, the whole thing about the unfolding of the experience, we didn't know what was going on. We had no idea. We didn't even know there was a shooter at first. I thought there was a medical problem. Then we're being told to duck by the staff, and then they're carting us into the corner. Susan said she heard gunfire, so you heard people talking about gunfire, gunfire, gunfire. But again, whether it was somebody standing there firing into the building, or a fight, or a drive-by, or we had no idea. We had no idea. Gio's in Romania. That would be interesting, Gio. I'm learning Greek right now. That's my great pastime, which is, I'm trying to manage my COVID brain by using my brain, and it's actually kind of worked. So Afaristo, I'm learning Greek to sort of passively get by in conversation. Did I ever see the shooter, Carol? No, I did not. We didn't see anything. We didn't see anything because by the time we were allowed to stand back up, the whole thing was over, and not only the shooter was gone, the people who were having the fight were gone, and the victims were gone. So what happened? This guy came in and started just shooting at this other guy, missed him completely, hit diners at the other tables. One guy was hit in the abdomen, and one guy was a through and through shoulder. We had heard that the shooter went to Bellevue or needed sedation, or we're not sure what was going on with that story. Initially, we were told that it was some sort of mental health thing that this guy was suffering from. We're not sure now. Now we're just reading that the victims went to Bellevue hospital, not necessarily obviously not the psychiatric piece, the trauma center. So there you go. Yeah, I'm sure it was a handgun. Anything else going on out there? What else on your mind? I just thought I'd tell that story. We wanted to get up early today, and of course, not that early here in New York. But people on locals particularly seemed concerned that they wanted to hear the whole story, make sure we were okay, which we are. Shane, I did not yell, "Dude, maintain." Though, again, I was thinking about what I was going to do if somebody showed up that was with a gun. I mean, that was the weird part. It was lying there on the ground, sort of making sure everyone around me was okay. Was by a window because I was trying to figure out what was going on, but I thought this window is really vulnerable. And we just don't know what the next move is. We don't know what's happening. And we didn't, one of the things a lot of us were contemplating was we'd have to run across the room and go to the emergency exit. But for all we knew, there were gunmen there. We didn't know. We didn't know really where this was coming from. So it was kind of an interesting experience in uncertain situations. And when things evolve and you don't know what to think, it's kind of crazy. So Tom Cigar says, slew of law-abiding citizens would have squashed it before the cops were called. Well, Tom's, I'm telling you, the staff at Peter Lugar attended to the guy that was hit, got him into the ambulance, was part of the maneuver to get somebody in a cop car to go chase the guy who had done the shooting so he could be identified. And the thing was secured fast. So I'm guessing that the staff had something to do with that. So there you go. Tanya, a la Boogie Nights. New York citizens. Well, look, Tom Cigars, I was happy to rely on the cops. They were very professional. They did their job. They were very nice, and made sure everyone was okay. Yeah, Makai, I urge you in the strongest terms to listen to a woman on TikTok. Her handle is @LaughterInLight. She is a PhD and postdoc in immunology and runs a large immunology company. And there is zero evidence that this accelerated mutation occurs in relation to vaccination. It seems to be a direct relation to numbers of replications. So the more we allow this thing to replicate, the more mutations occur. So I strongly urge you. You can also look at Dr. Nock, N-O-C, on TikTok. He also has a very good source of up-to-date, peer-reviewed science. Okay. Yeah, shout out to the staff indeed. TS, you like her too? I think she's exceptional. I mean, she gets a little tiresome taking on her trolls, which, you know, who cares? I just want to hear the information, which is what she's very good at providing. Makai, I am telling you, this is these two are high quality virologists, immunologists. This is a referral. This is not, oh, there's just some TikTok out there. I am telling you, I've assessed these two professionals. I've spoken to one of them. They are exceptional, and they're doing a good job of putting information into 1-minute segments. All right. Yeah, Flora May is saying seriously, it's good, right? More replication as a result of greater viral spread, right? So this is my thing about, you know, younger Joe Rogan. I think I talked about this yesterday. Got in a bit of trouble a couple of days ago for thinking out loud, quite appropriately, what it would be like to be a 20-year-old with no risk factors, whether or not he would take an mRNA vaccine. And he thought, I might take my chances. I know I have essentially zero risk of COVID, sort of an unknown risk from the mRNA vaccine. Maybe I wouldn't take the vaccine. That is good reasoning. That is sound reasoning, except one thing, which he talked about apparently today, which is that we all have a collective obligation to reduce the replication of this virus because the mutations are directly related to numbers of replications. The E484K region of the spike protein is where it's a very plastic area of the genetics, and so the viruses are very prone to changing. Even just a single amino acid can sometimes make a significant change in infectivity, or maybe even in the intensity of the illness. And we don't want them to have replicated so frequently that there's adequate time and adequate replication for there to be mutations that can then get around natural immunity from people like me that have had it and or the vaccine. So we have a collective obligation to take our vaccines that are beyond the risk-reward analysis for a single individual. So, all right. Oh, beautiful. 1 year of mass and social distancing, and now COVID. Oh, there's our meat. There's is it actually in the picture?
Mm-hmm.
This is.
Look at that.
Yep, there it is.
I'm eating it.
Excellent. I'm jealous. I'm gonna have to wrap this thing up quick because we've been talking too much about Peter Luger steaks. Opinion on what Europe did both better and worse than the U.S. handling the pandemic. Yeah, AK, I generally think that Europe did more of what U.S. did wrong and less of what U.S. did right. Although Germany should get some kudo for the vaccine development, which I believe, if I'm right, BioNTech is involved in, is a German company, and yet they're getting very little of the overall. I believe BioNTech is the one that actually developed the lipoid shell that allows us to deliver the mRNA, which is the key thing. Leopold had an addict score an hour ago. What's the likelihood of addict score will be higher? I did, Leopold, a second addict score 2 weeks after my J&J vaccine, and my score was higher. Not dramatically, because I'm already way up there, but it was higher. In fact, one of the directors, immunologist over there at Additics, asked me, was I exposed to somebody sick? He didn't get the note that I'd had the vaccine because he could see the reaction to exposure. What is ADE? I'm sorry, Jason. What do you mean by ADE? We need to eradicate the flu. That will never happen because the flu mutates on a regular basis. That's how it stays alive. Oh boy. Yeah, I'm sorry about that, Marlene. I don't know what you do with that. Second wave in India is going to impact other countries. It could, right? Mishi, if there's more mutations occurring because of all the massive infection and replication in India, sure, it could be a serious problem. The biggest problem with India is the failure of their healthcare system, right? They can't keep up. We didn't even get into our flex system. We could handle even more than what we got into last summer. Now, the fear that occurred in our healthcare system last summer was the question: how far is it going to go? Could we keep up with it or not? Or is it going to go to some astronomical level that we lose the ability to flex? We did fine. We did fine. Nobody was turned away. There was some waiting. And there was some unpleasantness, but we did fine. Makai wants to see me eating the steak, Susan. So,
I just did.
yeah. In general, does natural infection provide a broader, more robust immune response than the vaccines? Yes, Shane, it does. I've had both my T cell, my B cell function is all very charged up and ready to go. And the T cell story has yet to really be told. There's some data starting to come out that suggests that the T cell memory immunity function may be adequate to mount a significant B cell response, antibody response for years, even with low levels of circulating antibodies. So that story has yet to be figured out. What's the reason for wearing a mask? Pigletine. That is outdoors makes no sense at all because there is essentially zero transmission outdoors. And if you're vaccinated outdoors, I mean, that's a zero transmission. The most outdoor transmission I could find documented was 2 out of 7,000 cases. That's the highest level of transmission, non-vaccinated individuals. So wearing a mask indoors is really about trying to get reduce the risk of a variant taking hold. If you've had COVID, if you had the vaccine, the fear is that somehow these variants will get going, and if we don't sort of add that extra hedge of protecting ourselves indoors, there's potential for that to take off before we're aware that anything's happening. I guess that's rational. It's not very rational. I think things are going to be opened up very soon. I think maybe July, things are going to be more open. Whether or not businesses require masks, we'll see. Trying to be rational with our infectious disease response, it's going to be hard because it's been irrational the entire way. All the way back to what happened in Wuhan, which was not something recommended by doctors. It was something invented by the government there, and looked a little weird because it was so extreme. It looked like they were trying to suppress or hide or I don't know what, but no infectious disease doctors were involved in that decision. And then the press demanded that we follow that same policy as our infectious disease response, which again, you'll not find words lockdown, social distancing in infectious disease textbooks anywhere, wherever you look. Somebody's at our door, it appears. Yeah. Who is it? Oh, what's going on? We got somebody. So, what's going on over here? This is interesting. Interesting. Maybe Susan, I should wrap up just so you guys can do your thing. Is that you think? Okay. So given the natural immune response is more robust than vaccination, wouldn't it be better for the individual to get the virus naturally after the at-risk population is vaccinated? Shane, again, that is a rational position. That's not an irrational position. That's a rational position. But you really need to know more what the risk-reward analysis is on either side. So we kind of know what the risk-reward is of getting infection if you're, say, 22 years old. It's nearly zero. It's way, 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 way low. Now, what about the long hauler symptoms? We're seeing quite a bit of that in that population, maybe 10%, 20%, as opposed to a vaccine, which seems to have zero complications or next to zero, very, very rare. But we don't know the full numbers yet, right? We'll have to get those numbers out and see. So to sort of make that kind of proclamation, I don't think we're in a position to be able to do that yet. It is rational evolution, my friend. It is time for rational evolution. You are so right. Dr. Saeed said you can't get a vaccine for 3 months. I don't know where that is, Bootyfool. I don't know where you're talking about. Yeah, Jay Lala was working in ICU and is grateful for the vaccine. Me too. I've been working on these patients for quite, all through the pandemic. And I was trying to get the vaccine early. And of course, I was stonewalled, as I've told you before. Willie Cotton, your brain farts have sustained, I presume. They're better. They're better. I have to kind of force my brain to work a little bit sometimes, and it will sort of block in ways that are unusual for me. But it is better. It is better. And I've been learning Greek, the Greek language, which is very difficult. and that has helped my brain sort of kick back on again in some weird way. Let's see. Don't be afraid of needles, Bruin. I'm not quite sure what that's all about. Fist size area of my shin that feels sometimes hot but isn't. Is this diabetes creeping up? Um, Florame, that is probably something called oh shoot. This is the brain fart part again. Erythema nodosum. That is called erythema nodosum. Look up erythema nodosum. The primary treatment for that is aspirin. So look up erythema nodosum. Make sure I'm telling you the right word there, because my COVID brain makes me nervous. Inflammatory conditions, inflammatory fat cells under the skin, nodules, tender nodules. Yeah, that is erythema nodosum. It's usually in the shins. And I believe diabetics are a little more prone to that, or pre-diabetics even. So you might want to see, you can take a picture of it, send a dermatologist maybe. Erythema nodosum is very uncomfortable, and there's usually more than one patch or inflamed region, but they're uncomfortable. They're very uncomfortable, very unpleasant. How long on average do vaccine side effects last on the second dose? 2 to 5 days on average. Most people experience, within 2 days, I'd say, but 2 to 5 days are sort of the, 1 to 5 days is sort of the range for most people. I'd put it that way. Most people talk about cops, only call them. They don't see what's going on. I'm not sure what you're saying, Pigletine, but I am really happy they were at nearby in Brooklyn last night, because it made it an entirely different situation. Had they not come, we would have been lying there in this room not knowing if somebody was going to come around the corner with a gun. It was the cops that secured the situation in moments. So, all right, what else is on people's mind today? Daily make a sport of blocking trolls. It's amazing. It's uncanny how many trolls there are in the world, because they all show up on social media. How about my theory that we have had a turn from narcissism to histrionic personality traits? Doesn't it seem, Adam Carolla wrote a book called "In 50 Years We'll All Be Chicks," and I think what he was seeing is what I'm saying, which is what's called a histrionic personality profile emerging as the prominent public profile, public personality. And all this emotional consternation that shows up on social media is hysterics. It is specifically hysterics, and that is specifically something associated with histrionic personality. And I was listening to somebody give a talk the other day who was talking about the predisposing causes of histrionic: excessive praise. Excessive praise, not enough failure, enhances histrionic traits. Isn't that interesting? Sound familiar, everybody? But Adam and I thought about co-authoring a book. Shane, we did years ago. I don't know that Adam is interested in that now. He's mostly interested in doing stuff on his own. Let's see. Great idea. People would just make crazy statements, so untrue and ridiculous. I agree. Okay. So, Tom Cigar. I'm not quite sure what you're saying, Tom's. Antibody-dependent enhancement. Antibody-dependent enhancement. Let's see if that is a thing that actually exists. Enhancement. All right. Scholarly articles. Nature. Yeah. So I see what they're talking about in these articles. So thus far, so all these articles bring up the issue of is there going to be antibody-dependent enhancement of CoV-2? There has not been. There has not been. So the idea that somehow we're going to see that, there's now zero evidence that that's happening. Let's see. I'm looking at all the articles that come popping up here, and none of them have any evidence that this, in fact, is the case. So I think you can calm down about that. It's an evidence-based phenomenon. You can't make prediction about physiology without the evidence. You can look for things and have a hypothesis that something might occur. When you look for it and it's not there, it's not occurring. So I think we can relax about that. Leopold's asking what are one of the main changes noticed from the 70s to today. Oh boy, you're allowed to have whatever hair you have, rather than everyone having to look like Farrah Fawcett. Everyone did, no matter what your hairstyle was like, or if you were bald, you'd have to hand hair dry your hair, whatever strands you had left. Dale Dunning-Kruger, that is right. Dunning-Kruger is alive and well. Is it true the vaccine is only 50% effective? That's about right. It's 50, 60%. They're making a guess on the particular genetic profile of the flu vaccine every year. And as such, they don't fully cover the flu as it develops. And sometimes we do better, sometimes we do worse. It says, I think I can speak for all of us when I say that we are glad that we're safe. Stakeout. Yes, the stakeout. It's very interesting, very funny. It was a stakeout indeed. Let's see. Ronald, I got the J&J vaccine and I had a bad reaction, but I'm glad I had it. And as I said, I've had my Addict score where I measured the response, which has been remains dramatic. My antibody levels are ridiculous. Hysteria, very similar to addiction, could not be more different. Could not be more different. Hysteria is excessive emotionality and drama and center of attention. Drug addict is emotions are distant and difficult to identify, though they can be used to be manipulative. In the addict side, everything with the addict serves the using, right? Everything. So in hysterics, everything is about the drama and the excesses of emotion. With the addict, everything is about the using. Everything is directed towards keeping the drug using. Yeah, Dale, everyone should go there. Seriously. Peter Lugar needs more business, so I encourage you to go there. I'm going to go back as soon as I can. Any questions, Gertie? Whatever you'd like to ask, I'm happy to try to answer. If I weren't traveling to Greece, would I have gotten the vaccine? I would not. I would have not. At least I wouldn't have gotten it yet. I would have waited until my antibodies fell further. I would have kept an eye on them, and then I would have taken it at that point. 7 months ago, I had Moderna shots. Brought on long hauler symptoms from the shots. That's interesting, Judy. Could not tolerate fluvoxamine. What happened with the fluvoxamine? So the three things that Judy that are being shown to be effective against long hauler symptoms are fluvoxamine, steroids, Miravirac, ivermectin. Those are the four things that Dr. Yo and Dr. Patterson are using. Usually, if the fluvoxamine doesn't work with or without ivermectin, they'll go to steroids, and then if that doesn't work, they'll go over to Miravirac. That's sort of what I've been seeing them doing. But you can actually, follow Dr. Yo and maybe direct message him, and he can talk to you about maybe getting your cytokines checked so they can be more deliberate and more specific with the therapies they bring in. Joshua, both hysteria and addiction are dependency problems. No, they are not. No, they are not. Dependency is a particular personality disorder. It's a particular attachment style. Tolerance and dependency physiologically to a substance has no relationship to psychological dependency whatsoever. And by the same token, the kind of personality issues that you see with substance use are more in the narcissistic spectrum, borderline spectrum, sociopath spectrum. Yeah, who got kicked? What did Anthony Brown say? I didn't see what he said there. So antiviral treatment, since I feel like they haven't heard anything about treatments lately. Shane, you bet I'll be coming up in May, as they say. The hydrogen peroxide nebulizer, no. Don't think that's a good idea, but show me some data. But the antiviral treatments, Merck is actually sent the building blocks of its antiviral drug to India to be used. If they're able to sort of manufacture it and distribute it there, that might be the answer to their outbreak. Since they don't have monoclonal antibodies, they don't have the polyclonal antibodies, and they don't have the vaccines, the oral antiviral, 5-day medication might be the trick. And the data on it looks amazing. It just hasn't finished its phase 3 trials yet to go through the legal wranglings of getting FDA approval. But in India, they could use it, and that might be a way to accelerate some of the research, in fact. Relationship between ACE2 mechanism with COVID and ACE inhibitors. No, there was a while there, Chris, when the medical research was trying to decide whether people should stay on their ARBs or the ACE inhibitors or not. And It determined finally if you're on an ACE inhibitor and ARB, you just stay on it. It doesn't seem to affect whether you get COVID or how bad you get COVID. Any other viruses that affect people so differently like COVID? Beautiful, essentially everything in infectious diseases. You know, it has a spectrum of how it affects people. You'd be surprised. That's why diagnosis can be so difficult. Things can look very different until you're able to prove what the infecting agent is. You know, that's sort of more the norm than not. I mean, like, you know, it can be all over the place. Have you ever heard of external compartment syndrome? Sure. The only term, well, no. Gertie. So compartment syndrome, the classic one is in your pretibial region here. It's a small region of muscle that is in a compartment, a fascia compartment. And if you get some sort of crush injury or stab wound or an arterial bleed or something, that compartment starts to fill with blood or inflammation, like broken down muscle if you have rhabdomyolysis, and that further restricts the blood supply and further causes muscle breakdown. And really the only way to relieve that spiraling into complete breakdown and viral constriction, and arterial constriction, is to cut the region open and open it to air, and so it can relieve that pressure. And in my experience, the outcomes have been very good. I don't know what you're saying, that it really is not that effective. But that's what you do when you have a compartment syndrome, if it's bad enough. I mean, the part of the problem is when it gets very serious, the muscles start disintegrating to the point that the CPK breaks out into the bloodstream. It's called rhabdomyolysis, and that clogs the kidneys and can cause kidney failure, acute tubular necrosis. K2 is a nasty drug. That is true. It is brutal. That is a picture of Ray. It is downtown Los Angeles. Ironically, I'm in New York. Those injuries sound like the ones Tom would laugh. Yeah, Tom could have had a compartment syndrome. Thoughts on bamlanivimab, John? I took bamlanivimab. It kept me out of the hospital. You can't take it alone anymore. It's also given with etesivimab, and it's an excellent combination. If you can get it, if you're over 55 with moderate COVID, it is available. Your insurance is covered, or it's free. I mean, you get your hands on that if you have a moderate case of COVID. It's remarkable. My infusion nurse was telling me that, you know, as I was telling him that I was feeling better during the infusion, he was saying that he sees that all day long. And he infuses it across the economic spectrum because it is available to all. Vaccine passports are concerning, but, you know, what difference does it make if you have a QR code or a piece of paper? Why is it different? Why is it something different? And my question that I asked on Twitter is, how do we feel if other countries start mandating that? And that became some bizarre commentary on me not understanding that yellow fever is a mandated vaccine in certain areas of sub-Saharan Africa. Yeah, I knew that. Yeah, I know the sky's blue. Thank you, trolls, but thank you. 20 million trolls agree. Do I think the mRNA will be used for more than just vaccine? Yes, Chris, it's looking like the mRNA technologies may have some really significant application in cancer. So there's stuff coming. That's one of the good news about COVID. It's pushed ahead certain technologies. Susan, you're laughing about something? Oh yeah, I know. We've been going about an hour. I think I'm going to wrap up. Maybe Susan, you can help me here do that. Have I heard about home COVID treatment pill from Pfizer? Yes, Sherry. I was just talking about that, and they're sending it to India to try to see if they can distribute it there to help them. It's out of desperation. It hasn't been approved yet, but let the Indian population use it. It might have a dramatic effect on COVID. The numbers I've seen on that it's a Merck product, looked amazing. Just looked really amazing.
Did we have a Strikes Back segment?
We didn't, but Tom's wants me to throw the laptop across the room. So well, maybe I did when I was thinking that the 20 million trolls. Bootyful, we have not checked Susan's antibodies, but she's bionic. She's like superhuman. Yep, go to locals. We'll try to swing by there and see you guys as well. I put up some videos of the shooting last night that we were engaged in, that we were, witness to, I guess. Leopold, study on animals seeing hallucinogen effects. Study talked about reindeer that ate moss and then urinated a drug-like substance that animals ate. I'm not familiar with that study, my friend. I am not familiar with that one. Thank you, Patty. Shane, happy to have done this. All right, so we'll kind of wrap it up. Susan, are you good there to go? Here we go. Ooh, I'm striking back. Thank you, trolls. 20 million trolls can't be wrong. Ugh.
Why would it happen?
I was talking about the nonsense when Jordan put up that tweet about asking how people felt about other countries mandating vaccines, and it laundered. I love the idea of laundering stories. Social media launders the story until it becomes an abject, disgusting false lie, and then they report that as news. It's disgusting. So they want me to punch the TV. Tom's wants me to punch the TV behind me or take a baseball bat to it, like that old Apple commercial. Okay, I have struck back. I am done, and I will see you guys. What do you think, Susan? Tuesday?
It'll be fun to see how they twist everything you said about fear.
Yeah, well, who knows? I did an interview with Page Six as it pertains to the shooting last night, and we'll see what they do with it. Who knows?
I'm privileged, but not a pussy.
Yeah. No, Annulus. There are certain countries that do mandate vaccine for you to visit them. Many countries, in fact, and that's the way it is. That's just the way it is. And the question we asked was, how do you feel about that? I had no concerns about it, but all right, I gotta go. We're gonna wrap this up. We thank you guys, and we'll see you. I think on Tuesday we have a wedding happening here tomorrow, and then Sunday and Monday we're sort of traveling, so we'll see you on Tuesday.